Shock Treatment the movie is rated PG, but Shock Treatment Minute is rated F for
Faith!
We're going to spend this time discussing the movie in gory detail, and along the way we'll talk about adult content and use adult language. Consider yourselves warned.
Welcome to Shock Treatment Minute, the podcast where we discuss shock treatment 1 minute at a time in excruciating detail. I'm one of your hosts, Kelly.
And I'm your other host, Leandra.
And today we will be discussing minute 11 of shock treatment.
And what a minute it is. Do you mind, just this once, I know that this is an odd-numbered episode, but do you think maybe I could take point on the explanation for this one?
Sure. Take point on all the rest of them.
No. No.
Yeah, go for it.
I think I'm okay.
I insist.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't insist. But for this one, I'll go ahead and share my recap. The minute begins with a drum roll. Then the applause sign lights up. The floor manager starts hyping up the audience by flapping his arms and running toward them. The screen view changes to the audience, who is cheering excitedly. Back to the stage, a camera with crew rolls into place in front of a series of red, white, and blue padded walls, with a massive showpiece of a series of interconnected lines with arrows on the front blue wall. Imagine... I know that it's supposed to be kind of like padded walls in an asylum, but to me it's kind of like in elementary school gyms, they often have blue mats on the walls. It kind of is like that, but with a gigantic bundle of white arrows as a sign that lines up, mounted to it. On the other padded walls are arrows pointed inward to the right of the screen. These are openings to the labyrinth, which is the inner set. Bert appears with a jump and yells, "Hoopla, Denton!" And the audience yells back, "Hoopla, Bert!" He half walks, half hops and jaunts, with his walking stick barely touching the ground, making his way to a podium. The podium has two arrows on either side, one that spells out him in lights and the other that says her in lights, and in the middle are two stylized lit-up red M's. And we see that on that big bunch of white arrows, the lights write out marriage maze. We see Bert from the point of view of someone behind a camera monitor. That monitor rolls into place, so we are fully watching the monitor and not the live action. Bert says, "Thank you, welcome, thank you." Before we start, I want to say one or two words about tomorrow night's great new show, the Faith Factory Show. The audience oohs at this. Bert continues, and as a matter of fact, we have in the studio audience tonight the host and his lovely co-host. Give a big hand, please, to Ralph Hapshat and the vivacious Maisie Struzzes. The audience applauds again, and we see almost a Dutch angle of Macy and Ralph waving from the audience. After the applause dies down, Bert says, "Let's get a camera in there for heaven's sake." I guess ostensibly because he doesn't know that a camera's already in there.
What do you mean ostensibly?
I mean, we know that he's not blind, so he would know that they already have cameras there, but the audience doesn't know that he's blind, so...
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Spoiler alert for viewers who are watching this minute by minute. But the camera does go back to Macy and Ralph, and it's a better angle now with their names popping up under them. And we hear Bert say, "Over the moon about that commercial, Maisie." And Macy says, extremely happily, "Thanks, Bert." And then he begins, "Got a good show lined up," and we'll never know who Bert is talking to or what he's really asking about, because that's the end of the minute.
Yeah. Well, I think we know who he's talking to.
Is it me?
Probably the people that he was talking to.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But we don't know for sure.
That's fair. Maybe he'll elucidate next minute. Question.
Yes.
Why did you refer to his cane as a walking stick?
I guess it's not a walking stick. It is a blind person's walking aid.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, because then you also added it's barely touching the ground, which is how they're supposed to be used. I was like, does Leandra not know about canes?
It would be so weird if I didn't, given the fact that I'm an on and off cane user.
I obviously mean blind person canes, not the kind you use, but yeah.
Not the kind you deep throat.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I will, if any of our listeners are blind, or pretend to be blind, I would be happy to deep throat your cane. Please send it to the Rocky Horror Minute offices, the studio,
Yeah. Yeah,
and I'll do it live on the air.
we'll drop our as yet to be purchased PO box right in our
Yeah.
notes. Once we have that, you'll be the first to know.
And then I guess you'll just like accidentally trip on a lot of things because your cane is with me getting deep throated. But
It's sad, but that's showbiz, baby.
yeah, so we finally get a true introduction to Bert, and on the commentary, Little Nell was giving him truly the best intro ever. She started when he was all the way down the hall and did it very slowly, going, "Here he is. Fasten your seatbelts. You're in for a bumpy ride. The great, fabulous, and yet another Australian." Barry Humphries! And she waited until he came out onto the show to do it. It was so cute.
I love her so much.
Yeah, it's that commentary is a real joy, and I loved the little Betty Davis reference. She did her best impression there too, so it's very cute. And then she added, "Dame Edna to you, darlings." Even cuter. Unsurprisingly, she said that he is incredibly funny in real life and kept the whole cast and crew entertained. We've heard the same from Brian Thompson. Everybody who was involved with the film seems to have loved the experience of working with him, and he really seems to have been the life of the party.
It makes sense. I would be so heartbroken if that wasn't the case because he really does seem like the type of person that I would want to be just glued to the hip at like any party.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you would assume that he was a like larger than life character from his performance work, but you never know. Sometimes people are very different off stage. Not Barry Humphries, apparently.
But Doctor, I am Barry Humphries.
But Doctor, I am Dame Edna. Putting that aside for a second, between the hair and some very explicit references later to him being a Nazi, was he meant to look like Hitler a
He would
bit?
have to. Like that hair is, even if nothing else, like that kind of lank hair kind of cut so that it is forever kind of swiping in a very like dictator who hates Jewish people way. Uh, it's
Yeah.
very Hitlery.
Yeah. To to me he looks very Hitler-esque. And also, we've already talked about his sort of ghoulish makeup and just generally unpleasant sort of way about him, but in a ludicrous way. And so it sort of reminds me of it in Springtime for Hitler, which is the play within the movie of the producers, and I'm talking about the original version in this case. Part of what, in fact, the actual moment when the audience in the producers decides that Springtime for Hitler is a satire and is lambasting Hitler and the Nazis is when the like hippie that they've hired is playing a very ridiculous version of Hitler who is kind of a buffoon and everything. So it sort of reminds me of that type of, in the producers it was unintentional satire that people were picking up on, but that's my read on the Hitler similarities in this movie. Thoughts?
And when we look at the reference photos that Brian Thompson has shared with us about how much he wanted the Farley Flavors logo to just be like overtly Nazi esque, I feel like it would make sense for there to be a Hitler in this film. So I think you're right
That's
on the
true.
money.
Although, I mean, I guess Farley is really the Hitler of that corporation, but yeah, I hear you. And this is an interesting thing that Madman Mike brought up on their commentary that I've been kind of thinking about ever since I heard it. he said anyone with their own show is in bright colors, and then other characters are in pastels. And as evidence of that, for example, he pointed out that when Janet gets on Happy Homes, she changes into bright pink from her pastel suit. I'm not. I'm trying to think if that, because I mean, then Janet changes into black, but it's not a pastel. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm fully on board with that theory, but I'm definitely going to be keeping it in the back of my mind as I watch. But Bert certainly is in a very bright orange suit.
For sure. And I don't know, maybe when we talk with Sue Blaine, because I'm putting that into the universe, Kelly. It's
Are you
gonna happen.
manifesting? Yeah.
Yes. When we talk with Sue, we'll ask her, and I'm sure that she'll remember 100% what her thought process was and give a very satisfying answer that will make us feel very smug.
Based on everything I've seen from Sue Blaine, she probably will remember her thought process. In interviews, she typically has very specific memories of why she chose certain things and preparing them. I mean, she literally made a lot of the costumes for Rocky, like sewed things on and things like that we've talked about in the past. But anyway, yes, I hope that Sue, if you're listening, we're waiting on your call, darling.
And to be clear, I know that my voice does that thing where you can't tell if I'm being sarcastic. I actually wasn't being sarcastic. I do genuinely think that Sue is going to be a great get for us. I know it's going to happen.
Oh, yes. I mean, I definitely, I barely dare to hope, but I do hope that we could have an opportunity to speak with her. She's so fabulous.
So, I want to go over the definition of hoopla since it keeps coming up.
Yeah, well, we talked about this in Rocky.
Let's revisit it then. Um, I
Okay.
I did a I did kind of a refresher for myself because there are two major definitions.
Well, remember we had a clip from Richard O'Brien talking about where it came from in his case and what it was.
I'm talking more about from my perspective, I guess. Just the two major definitions. One is the general name for a carnival game where you toss a ring around a prize. And that kind of reminds me of this virgin game that we do at Rocky called Cock Ring. You'll never guess what the rules of that are, listeners. And then the other one, of course, is the general excitement surrounding an event or situation.
We inserted a clip of him talking about what he used it for and where it came from. It's he said it was the circus term, basically.
Oh, it's okay.
That I mean that's what he said on the commentary. I know. It doesn't make any sense, but that is what he said.
I
Yeah.
I believe you, and I believe Richard O'Brien said that. I just don't believe that that is
Yeah.
what makes sense.
Well, and I don't want to. I just didn't want to contradict it because we literally inserted the audio in Rocky Horror Minute.
I do believe you.
Yeah. It was actually, I believe it was the first clip we ever inserted from that commentary because it was so weird that I was like, okay, I'm just gonna put him in explaining it.
Richard O'Brien, you're wrong. I don't want to make that sort of stand, but like, are they really saying ring toss every time they throw this out there?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's meant that quite that literally, but that's where he got it from. Like, I think honestly, really, he just thought it sounded silly and fun.
And that's kind of what I thought. It just kind of generally it seems like it's being used as a declarative statement or a made up word.
I would call it more as like a expletive almost. But yeah, I mean,
That's also fair.
yeah, I mean, I was gonna say ejaculation, which is what it is, but I'm not opening myself up for that. But yeah, anyway, yeah, no, it's not like, I don't think that he's literally trying to state, but I think he heard that at a circus and thought it was fun. As far as I know, outside of these movies, it is not used anywhere in that as that part of speech, but I could be wrong.
I don't think that it would be used in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to in my mind think of Richard O'Brien thinking of this as cock ring.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what he said. Patricia Quinn, when it happened on the commentary, said, for this movie, said, "We've all been shouting hoopla ever since." And I can confirm from my own perspective that we've also been shouting hoopla ever since. Everyone I know who is a shock treatment person just will say hoopla in as an excited exclamation.
Because you gotta.
And then she added, "And we don't even say Janet. We say hoopla, Janet." And I was like, "Yeah, we do that too." So that's cute.
I love that. I can tell that, and I know that we've said this before, but I can tell that Patricia Quinn and Little Nell really do seem to have quite the friendship.
Yeah. Nell wasn't part of any of that, but yeah.
But didn't she say that during their commentary?
Oh yeah. I don't she was talking about like everyone, not just her and Nell. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess that I was meaning that she was in a very good mood because she was hanging out with her buddy Nell and just in a happy sort of mental state instead of an excited mental state.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, she also really loves this movie. She was participating in it constantly and just talking about how much she adores it. So she's just a shock treatment lover,
Oh,
like
I
me.
love that for her and I love that for you.
But here's the thing about Bert.
Yes.
He was not supposed to be in this movie.
Oh my goodness,
He,
really? Tell me more.
yeah, well, he was supposed to be Dr. Scott. He was written as Dr. Scott. And very late in the game, they had to do a rewrite and make this a new character, which is kind of interesting to me that they did this. So they did it because Jonathan Adams was busy performing in Tom Lehrer's musical review Tomfoolery and was not allowed to take the time off in his contract. He actually tried. So, with that in mind, why didn't they? I mean, they have other characters played by the same actor. Or by different actors, I mean.
My thought process is that if you have Barry Humphries, you're going to give Barry Humphries a lot of breathing room and maybe giving him just a completely new character to fuck around with
Mm,
felt like it was a better fit.
that's true. I'm not sure. It wasn't clear whether the character was created after they got Barry Humphries on board or vice versa.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I would like to think that,
It's certainly an explanation that would make sense.
yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, now you all know why I keep saying Macy Struthers instead of Struthers.
there are so many things that Bert says that are just in a very silly way.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you ever hear me say Janet, are you decent, Janet? Yeah, that'll come up.
Oh, yeah. We have lots of lines coming up that are so frequently quoted. I think it is not at all a stretch to say that he is the most quoted character from Shock Treatment by a huge margin.
At least for us.
For everyone I know, everyone in the community, when they're talking about Shock Treatment, when they're referencing it, it's like always Bert quotes because there's so many great ones. We're getting arguably the most popular one next minute. That's a little teaser.
I'm so excited for that.
In fact, like just the very beginning of this next minute. So real teaser.
Ooh.
Anyway,
So I only have a couple of extra notes. The audience continues to have a lot of fun lines that they're sharing that aren't really showing up in the script, like "Hey Ralph," and then just other times that they're kind of talking directly at Bert while he's talking to the audience. And it's very fun. I love that this is an audience of people who don't quite understand that they're not just on a one-on-one conversation basis with some of these people.
yeah, it's similar to the "Hey Ollie."
And then the only other note that I have is I saw that the flashing arrows that point into the labyrinth, one of them says happy, and then it flips to homes. And then there's another one that says home, and then it switches to base. And that's the middle one, and that's the one that Bert kind of walks out of.
Interesting.
We're starting to get an idea of where these entrances lead people to. I saw that there was a third arrow in the way, way back, but I couldn't tell what those words were. But those are my notes.
I have more.
Ooh.
On the topic of Macy, I love how much she acts like a pageant queen, especially in this minute. But just in general, you can tell she's from the pageant circuit, which is so Texas and so Macy. At the way she's reacting and responding, the super fake responses she has to Bert's questions and everything, it's giving beauty pageant, and I love it.
It's so good.
When the floor manager was running forward, I just so you all know how stupid I am, I had written in my notes, "Yes, come to me, my little schnack." He is. He really is. Look, he's
Jesus
looking so
Christ.
damn good. I love that guy. Call me. And then the final thing I have is another comment from Little Nell. She pointed out that Hairspray also had a lot of scenes in TV studios and that it has a very similar feel because of that. And she said, "This was so ahead of its time, darling," which of course we all know. We've talked about that a lot. Patricia Quinn talked a lot about how The Truman Show is a similar idea and everything. But it is interesting that she would compare it to Hairspray because that's another cult classic that takes place largely in a studio, and you get a lot of, she was talking about it because you get a lot of similar shots of like seeing people through the monitors on set and everything. So
I wonder if I can track down John Waters and ask if he's seen Shock Treatment.
I was thinking, I mean, John Waters is not only alive but shares a city with you, Leandra, so get stalking.
I've seen him before.
I've had tickets to see him twice, and both times it didn't work out. Once due to COVID, and once because we had to cancel due to like a family emergency, I think. But hopefully I will get to meet him soon.
He often has a Valentine's Day with John Waters, like one-man show. And I don't know. I know it's super early, but do you want to do that with me?
I usually am getting a train run on me on Valentine's Day.
You can do both.
Yeah, I was about to say John Waters probably wouldn't mind if I did that at the show. So sure, let's do it.
Hooray.
Hooray.
It's a date.
I'm gonna be there. No, spoilers. Okay.
We're normal.
That was super normal of me. I'm gonna go ahead and say those are my notes.
All right. What callbacks do you have?
None.
Well, I have more than that.
Okay. One.
So the first one is when Bert says, "Hoopla, Denton," you say, "Fuck you, Bert," instead of "Hoopla, Bert." It's good. When Bert says, "Give a big hand, please," you say, "And jerk me off." There's also the potential for some audience participation of like having a gigantic like sports hand for a big hand, please. So just something that you might be able to have in your back pocket for just this very second. And then you can say, "Stand up if you take it up the ass." And then some of the audience members start to stand, but Ralph and Macy stand up. And then from there you can say, "Sid and Nancy, love kills." And then my last one is when Bert is saying the over the moon about that commercial, Macy, you can shout over that, "Hey Macy, you're a slut." And then Macy says, "Thanks, Bert." But that's all I have.
Okay.
Which reminds me of a question that I've been meaning to ask you.
Okay.
Does this bird belong to you?
Yes, come to me, my little schnack.